Boreda! Welcome. So this month our theme is mystery. And we have Betina Skovbro. I've been introduced to Betina by a very loyal morning person there, so I'm very, very grateful for that. Thank you so much, because Betina is amazing. You will find out very soon. She's a creative, she's a mother, she's an adventurer, a professional, entrepreneur. She's so hardworking, which is why I think you're going to love her story. And I'm not so sure how she's going to fit all of that in 20 minutes, but that'll be interesting to see. Before we find out more about Betina, we got to say hello to our sponsors. Then we have local sponsors, which is Monotype and Storm & Shelter. Monotype has been supporting us for a long time, and we're very, very grateful for that. And Storm & Shelter have just joined us as videographers, so these two awesome lads walking around and making our videos, editing all our videos right now is Storm & Shelter. They're doing an amazing job. Thank you, guys. Now, finally, we are on to Betina. We can't wait. So please help me welcome Betina.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for coming. I don't think we've ever had this many people in the bakery before, so I hope you're all okay with standing. Sorry. So, good morning, or welcome to Brød. Sorry, I just got to start saying I absolutely don't do speaking in front of people, so I feel a little bit terrified right now. So please bear with me when I start rambling off in different directions to what it says on my script. And I've never been to one of your mornings either, so I don't know what you expect, sorry. So good morning and welcome to Brød. This is my latest venture for some reason, and life has brought me here. So I have been asked to do this speech by Susanna, thank you very much, who approached me. I'll never forgive you for that. And looking at the theme mystery made me think about how I got here, I guess. I find that I meet people on my journeys through life, and what I really like about that is that you meet people who has the key to your next step in your life, and what you do with that information is up to you as an individual. However, I think how I look at it is I meet people for a reason. They have the key to my next part of my journey. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. A little bit of a mystery how a young Danish girl from Copenhagen ended up in Cardiff. Who knows? Much older and fatter. Along the way, I would also like to share a few experiences of some of my photography and how it later on shifted to here in the bakery. Like most journeys, my journey began at home in Copenhagen. As a child, I really struggled with reading and writing. I got dyslexia, so school was absolutely a nightmare for me. So I didn't go to college or university, so basically everything I do is self-taught. It's just the way I've seemed to have gone through life, because reading and writing is just so scary, to be honest. So back then, I realized I needed a job, which didn't include sitting in an office doing 9 to 5, writing reports or whatever you have to do when you sit in an office. And basically, I just thought I needed to do something like my grandparents. They both worked with their hands. My one grandfather was a blacksmith, and the other one, who actually also happened to have dyslexia. I don't know if it skips a generation or whatever, but I seem to have had all his bad traits. I got them too. And the other one was a baker. So I was always around people who created and made things. And that's a massive inspiration to me all through my life. My parents pretty much built their own house. We had a garden, we did all our own vegetables. And I think most important, my dad was a real keen amateur photographer and gathered old cameras. Our whole house at home is full of old cameras lining all the shelves instead of books. We've got old cameras stood around. And I think that improved a massive, gave me a massive inspiration for where my journey started. I had my first camera when I was 15, and in my free time I ended up taking pictures of anything I could. Animals, people, places. I soon realized that landscapes and stills photography was not really my cup of tea. It didn't really excite me. I needed to be amongst people. My grandmother was a very social person, and we always loved getting over to her and have a cup of tea and chat. And I think that sort of sparked the other part of my photography as which journey to go in. And I think the most important thing that inspires me is we all the same in a way, but we're not. We're all so many individual people. We all do the same thing. We eat, sleep, and go to the toilet. But we do them in so many different ways. I'm not going to go into the toilet bit, but you know what I mean. And this gives me endless inspiration in photographing people, I think. When I was 16, after a school project, I got offered a job on our local paper, and I started doing some pictures for them. I was developing everything in my dark room, or film then, that's how old I am. So I learned quite a lot from this, and I felt that was a real big deal of starting this journey, because I knew I had to find something which didn't include reading and writing, so I felt I was on the right track. We got asked to do work experience. I'm sure you have that in this country as well. In school, during the last end of your years, you go out and do work experience. And I got into the national Danish paper, and I absolutely loved press photography. It just brought you to these places that you would never get if you were just in a normal office job. You got to meet so many inspirational people, and honestly, there's some crazy stories I'm not going to go into, but yeah, it literally opens the doors to you to get in to all these weird and wonderful things that goes on behind closed doors out there. When I got a bit older, I got an interview for apprenticeship on one of the Danish news stations, and it was like gold dust. To get in is like about 800 people applies to get into the School of Photography in Denmark, and maybe 80 gets a job as an apprenticeship. I got into the interview, and we had a lovely chat. I got introduced to everyone, and I was like 99% sure this is it. I've just landed the ticket. However, during this chat, the phone rang, and literally within seconds, the whole thing changed. They decided, the School of Journalism, that you now not only had to take pictures, but you also have to do a bit of journalism on the side. And honestly, that just wiped everything. I thought I was so close, and because of this bloody dyslexia, I couldn't get into where I thought I was about to, get into the school. So I was absolutely gutted. But you have to pick yourself up, I guess. And I decided I needed to get a bit more life experience. I was still young. So I decided to go traveling. And I spent a year in Boston as a nanny. And thereafter I went to work as a tour guide for a Danish package holiday. And yes, every country has its own breed of nightmare tourists. It was bloody hard work, but so much fun as well. I keep thinking, if I could just go back and do one more season, it would be really good. Anyway, it provided me with a very random encounter that would lead me here to Cardiff. On my very last job was in Cyprus, and I did a bit of freelance photography there. I got introduced to a guy called John Davis, and some people in Cardiff may know Davis Colour, and he was actually the owner of Davis Colour at the time, and we got chatting about photography. And I said how much I would love to become a photographer, but I'm still traveling, I'm doing my thing. But as it happens, John's son Gareth was opening a new company in the UK, and they needed still photographers for studio stuff. I was straight on the phone because, I mean, how hard can that be? It's only taking a few pictures in the studio, the light comes on and it's fine. Anyway, so I flew out to Cardiff and I got an interview and they gave me the job. I was absolutely over the moon. I was asked where in the UK I wanted to be because this was a UK new company. So I thought, well, John and his wife is in Cardiff. I don't know what Cardiff is because in Denmark I don't think anyone knew what Cardiff was. I didn't realize it had its own language and that Cardiff was actually the capital of this thing called Wales. So I decided, well, if John and his wife lives here, I can surely, it's probably best if I go and live there because at least there's 2 people I know. And if I got into trouble, which I did a few times, they could bail me out. So in 1998, with 2 suitcases and £100 cash, I moved to Cardiff. And I was living the dream. Oh, please don't laugh. I had my Smiles van and I had a very interesting haircut. Oh yeah. People didn't seem to mind too much, I think, or they didn't say. The kids were smiling. That was the main thing. When I was basically a few years late, sorry, I should say, the job was a studio photography in mother care. So I had to set up the studio and photograph kids and babies looking cute for portraits. So I could finally tell people I was a photographer. I was really proud of that title. So anyway, I had a holiday in Denmark coming up and I flew home. And on the flight on the way back home, I've got chatting to the guy next to me. I still don't know who that man was. But he gave me a phone number to the Western Mail. And I phoned up the Western Mail, blacked my way in and got into the picture desk area and decided to have a chat with him and asking if I could do some work experience with them. So despite loving photographing children and babies, deep down I knew the press was really what I was about, to be honest. So on my days off from Smiles, I decided to join the Western Mail and basically ask lots of stupid questions and prove to them that I could take pictures, not just of kids and babies. At the time, there was no jobs on the Western Mail, but one day in the office, I got chatting to one of the guys who was doing something else but picture desk, I'm not sure what they did. And he said, oh, do you know what? There's a job going on the South Wales Argus, which is a Newport paper for the people who doesn't know. So he handed me the phone and I got they introduced me to the picture desk and I got an interview and I got the job. So I was just absolutely over the moon. I was chucked in at the total deep end. This is a picture from a foot and mouth disease we had for a while in Wales. I got sent out to all these very strange places I'd never heard of. Abertillery, Abervale, Abergavenny. I mean, I'm Danish, all right? But I think the biggest challenge, well, it was all a big challenge, to be honest. I mean, it was just totally doing the dream, but not really knowing what I was supposed to be doing. So the biggest issue I had was I'd never seen a rugby game in my life. Being Danish, we don't have rugby. So I got sent to do a rugby match, and I just thought, what's this about? And I thought the best bit was all the people piling on top of each other in the scrum. I mean, how awesome is that? So when I came back to new picture desk with my scrum pictures, I soon realized that was not the action they were after. So I decided, well, I asked more stupid questions of the guys next to me, sat in the Millennium Stadium looking at Wales playing, and I'm like, why are they not taking pictures of that? And basically listening, oh, that's where they're taking the pictures. So I realized after a while, by listening and asking stupid questions again, that the try line is a good one to get. So yeah, anyway. I'm still figuring out the whole thing of rugby, I guess. After 5 years on the paper, I decided that I'm ready for a change. I'd done lots of really amazing jobs. It's taught me so much to be sent out to all these weird and wonderful assignments. However, there was a tipping point for me. I got sent out to a house where a small boy had just died in a tragic accident. And I was asked to go out and take pictures of the family and ask if I could take a picture of the boy, as in an old picture of him, obviously. So basically I did it, but I'm like, I'm not who I am anymore. I was becoming a bit hard, I guess. So I decided that was enough. I'm getting too press focused now. So I decided to hand in my notice and try life as a freelance photographer, which was absolutely scary. It was like standing at the top of a diving board, jumping in the pool and not knowing if there was water in there or not. Luckily, there was a bit of water in the pool and I managed to swim, and I got some amazing clients and on some amazing, brilliant commercial, editorial and PR jobs. Anything that included people, basically. But I also promised myself that if I was to go freelance, I wanted to do my own jobs on the side of the paid jobs, because that was the one thing I was missing really on the paper. I was always told what to do, but I never got to do my own creative stuff. So a month before finishing on the Argus, I got sent out to photograph this guy called Mike. He had saved a girl's life in a fairground incident and so on. But chatting to Mike, he was a bit of a larger than life character. He told me about his life story, and he showed me a massive tattoo on his back. And that started the idea for my very first project after going freelance. Mike was a father of 19 children, and due to his reckless lifestyle of drugs and all sorts we don't want to go into, he had all the children's names tattooed on his back as a family tree. And he showed me that, and I just thought, this is brilliant. So over the course of a year, we tried to re-establish contact with some of these children he had lost contact with because of his drinking and bad behavior. And dipping in and out of his life was absolutely amazing. It was a totally different world that I've never seen before. But through the lifestyle, I was trying not to get involved and be judgmental of their way of living. I was just becoming part of them. And I absolutely loved being around them, because it was just, yeah, just amazing in a strange way, I guess. So I covered a few different things. Some of them was with his missing children we got hold of, who thought he was dead. Father's Day, Christmas, summer, winter, and even arrival of child number 20. He thinks he got a special gift, and that's getting children. So we'll leave it at that. Anyway, this project resulted in my first solo project. I had this exhibition shown in the national papers and international press. I got one of my pictures, actually this picture, went to the National Geographic's website, and I also showed the pictures in Cardiff exhibitions and also in Copenhagen. And it was also in the Stedford. Well, this project ended up opening new doors for me, I guess. I like my projects to be quite simple. I don't think you need to go into a war zone to get amazing pictures. I think you are actually surrounded by quite amazing people around you, and their stories are really quite an inspiration. So the next project I started is even closer to home. I have a dog. He's an Aspo dog. However, I got a dog. And I walk him in my park every day, and I meet lots of interesting people. We discuss all sorts of topics, and we have invented the most amazing things in the park. As we walk around, we come up with some quite interesting ideas. They never become of anything, but we think they're brilliant. One day, I passed an old man sat on the bench with his dog, and I just loved the mannerisms of them, how they started almost taking on each other's characters. It was quite interesting to see. So I decided, I set up a studio in the park, and for 2 days, I photographed over 130 people and their dogs. exhibition spaces I sometimes found really on a white pristine wall, it's sometimes a bit daunting to go into. So I decided that with this project, I wanted to put it back to where it was taken. So I waterproofed all the pictures and I hung them in the trees from dog leads that I was given by the local dog home. And it just made people come and see work rather than having to go to the exhibition, the opening hours and all this. And this just made people smile. And that's all I wanted for this. It's just, if I can make people smile, then that's brilliant. At the same time, this project sort of started a spark to this place. I know it sounds far-fetched, but as this exhibition went up, the Waterloo Gardens Tea House, I don't know if you've heard of it, I'm sure you have because it's amazing, opened across the road from the park. And I got chatting to the owner, and he suggested that we showed the pictures in his cafe. And I thought, well, that's a brilliant idea, but why don't you have more artists showing? So I suggested to them that every month a new artist would show their work, and that way when customers came in, it was like a new experience for them as they came in for their tea and cake. And he thought it was a brilliant idea as long as I did it. So I then, for 3 years, got into curating, another thing I'd never done before, curate for these artists and make sure they hung the pictures and all the things that goes with it. And I was paid in coffee and cake. I mean, that's pretty cool, isn't it? But I also got to know Kaz much better, and I became a big fan of the tea house. And I think Kaz was such a big inspiration. He made opening a cafe look so easy. Well, what a fool I was. So this sort of started a small seed for this place. But before I go on to that, oh, I was not going to talk about that. Excuse me. I decided that Photo Marathon had to come to Cardiff, basically. I don't know if any of you have taken part or heard of Photo Marathon. But when I was 18, back home in Denmark, I took part in a photo marathon there. It's 24 hours, 24 topics, in 12 topics, I forgot the last bit. 12 pictures, so 24 pictures. So it was a full 24 hours. You started at noon, you had your first topics, and then every 3 hours you came back to the headquarters and got your topics. So after taking part in that, I told my long-suffering husband that I wanted to take part in one here in Cardiff. And he said, well, we don't have one. That wouldn't work in this country. Well, I think he soon realized that my logo and my motto in life is, how hard can it be? And basically don't tell me I can't do something, because it's like red cloth to a bull. I decided that we could set one up here. Surely it would be simple. 12 pictures, 12 topics, and 12 hours. How hard could that be? Well, the first year, I thought about 20 of my friends would come and take part, but the applications came in quite thick and fast, and we had 125 people taking part in this project that nobody had heard of before. So somehow we kept going. And the last few years, we had to cap the event at 450 people. So this is the morning of the event as everyone takes off. So we ran the event from 2004 to 2015, and basically over 40,000 images was taken over that time of Cardiff. Unfortunately, this year I've had to bring it to an end. Well, basically the time of running this place and doing everything else, money, and then everything, it was all done voluntary, basically caught up with us. It just got too big and too much, and basically too many pies and not enough fingers. But the experience has left two ways. Well, the experience of doing this project made me realize that you can do a lot of things if you've got a team behind you. So we're finally getting on to the bakery. A lot of people have asked me why I've opened a bakery, and I'm not sure I got a straightforward answer, to be honest. bread and pastry is a big part in life in Denmark, and I guess my 18 years here in Wales has made me miss the pastries, miss the good bread, because I just felt there was none of that in Cardiff or in Wales. I get quite frustrated when people offer me a Danish pastry and it tastes nothing like it. So I hope the pastries you try today can tell you this is how they're supposed to taste, not like the ones you get in Tesco's. I guess it's a bit like saying, giving you a Welsh cake and it's made with shortbread and some old raisins. So I guess it's one part longing and one part natural, national duty. And also a chance to connect to the community. The photo marathon taught me very much about getting people together. And I love, as I said earlier, I love seeing people smile. So I thought if I could get more people in and enjoy what I do, then maybe this was a good idea. So going back to the whole thing of setting up this place, the process of finding the right location is just start. I lived just 400 yards from here when I first moved to Cardiff, so maybe this is what brought me back to where I started. This is where I came when I came to live in Cardiff in '98. I must admit, I looked for about 2 or 3 years to find this place, and I had given up when a friend egged me on, because, I mean, how hard can it be? It's only a bakery. I'm a photographer, never mind. So when I saw this place, this is where you're sat now. This was an old wine shop, and it had so many things that needed doing. It was a massive learning curve, to say the least. I had to come to terms with council planning, pollution team who didn't want it to smell of bakery when we were baking, three-phased electricity, ovens, provers, dishwashers, and a crazy long list of ingredients you need for baking and baking methods that I've only sort of been taught while I was in Denmark to do a bit of research. As the project of renovating it, I had 3 different builders coming in to look at it, and basically all of them said, don't even go there. It's absolutely, there's so much need doing. They hadn't touched it for about 25 years before I rented the premises. But again, how hard can it be? It's only a bit of stuff, isn't there? So I got talking in the park where I walk with the dog, and I was moaning to this guy I was walking with. I know his dog's name was called Moses, but I didn't really know his name. And as it happened, now I know his name is Alan, and Alan did believe in my vision and my stupid idea of opening this bakery, and basically he and 2 other dog walkers has renovated this place to what it is today. It's fair to say that we had the odd crisis, like having no baker for a while. That was quite interesting. But what kept me sane, I think, is the support and dedication of people around me. My family, my husband, because I don't know how I've done any of this without him. My friends and the wonderful team I got working for me now in this place. I often hit a wall of struggling with the reading and writing, but it made me who I am, I guess, today, and it's makes me stronger, I guess, that I know there's certain things I can't do, but I can do other things. I can make dough. That's not so difficult, is it? You might remember me mentioning my grandparents earlier. I'll show you this one. Well, this little man, I didn't know he had so much to actually say about this place. However, this little man was made by my one grandfather, who was a blacksmith. And it's a little, I don't know if anyone can see it, it's a little man with a rolling pin for my other grandfather when he was 70. And I think it stands on the shelf over there and reminds me of my background, how I got here with working with my hands, the baking, making people feel at home was one of the main things I wanted to create for this space. Basically, the builders, I asked them that I wanted this place to feel like an old comfortable slipper. So I hope you can feel it. That's not the only thing in this place that close to me. On the rolling pin wall down the back, there's loads of rolling pins, but one of them got a little heart, and that's my great-grandmother's rolling pin. The old lamp hanging above the 2 windows at the back was my granddad's old work lamp. And 10 of the chairs amongst you is from my grandmother's old dining table that I brought over. So she's still here. They're all still in this room, which to me is so important that we are connected to where we came from. I think I've never really worked out the mysteries of our generic inheritance, whether it's nature or nurture. It's probably a bit of a mix of both, a combination of those people who I've met on my journey that held the key to the mystery of this, this place. Sorry, I lost my track there. I always wanted to become a photographer, and I loved baking, but I never knew I'd end up doing both. So this bakery is part of that journey, and every person who walks through that door plays a part and in that process, no matter how big and small. It's a very special feeling for me to make people smile. So it's still a mystery to me how we ended here, but there's no better way of solving those over a cup of coffee and a pastry. Thank you for listening. I hope it wasn't too gobbledygook.